I think in the early days of economic development, it was all about chasing smokestacks and just bringing jobs to a city, and that was your return on investment. I think the whole premise of economic development has shifted now. People want quality of life as a major indicator, and I think companies are now looking for major indicators in that realm.
I think we're definitely in a time when green space and natural amenities and recreational amenities rank a lot higher to people. So I think the cities who are going to compete in the 21st century have to have a 21st century version of those spaces.
Neighborhoods that have great, safe, well-functioning parks are more attractive and desirable to residents that might want to live in those neighborhoods and who do live in those neighborhoods.
Parks and recreation are a great job generator. The outdoor recreation industry is one of the largest sectors in our nation's economy. Larger than real estate, larger than gas and oil.
Good parks that have activity, that are clean, are drivers of where people want to live, increase the property value, bring more people in the inner city, which is what we want to do.
One of the things that developers understand is that there is an economic and social and cultural nexus of open space within developments. We run into very few challenges when we say we must have open space, because they understand if I have parks, people are more likely to invest and want to live in and work in an area.
Cities are improving the long-term durability and value of their real estate by creating public gathering places and connectivity.
It's so clearly defined that properties next to parks, especially well-maintained parks, go up in value.
So it may seem like a no-brainer to simply put up more commercial property, which is a tax rateable. It's going to give us a source of tax revenue. But actually that open green space is just as much a source of tax ratables in the value it contributes to surrounding property. I think that's recognized now. And I think there's attention to, okay, we are going to do this. Now, what space do we keep green for the sake of the future?
It was impossible to achieve. It almost didn't happen. And now it's become a global icon about what you can do with an abandoned railroad.
A lot of people now know about the High Line, but what a lot of people don't know is that it was going to be demolished. You know, it was built in the 1930s as an elevated freight line. The argument we made is that it had an economic benefit to the city that far outweighed the cost.
$150 million worth of investment created $2 billion in economic activity.
That value the High Line is creating is directly going into city coffers to pay for teachers, cops, everything the city pays for. One of the things I think no one could have estimated is how much development this kind of project would create. But now we've shown that. We've made the crazy credible.
And now it's this economic engine. It is a tourist destination. It is a great emotional experience, and you get to see New York in a new and special way.
Greenville's had a waterfall. That's where the city was founded. In 1960, a 4-lane highway bridge was placed directly on top of the waterfall. And so over time, we began talking about reclaiming the area, which was the birthplace of the city, into a park. And it was a very tough sell, because basically we were saying to people, we're going to spend about $13 million to create a park around a waterfall you've never seen. Trust us. And most people didn't. So it was a very strange political debate, because most people had never seen the falls, couldn't conceive of what a park around the falls would look like. What we've created is an incredible economic development success story. We spent about $13 million to build Falls Park around the river. Within a year and a half, we had over $150 million of private investment directly adjacent to the park. It exceeded any of our expectations. That's condominiums, hotels, restaurants, retail, and it just went on from there. That was just the first year or two. People and businesses come here, young people come here, people stay here because of what we've achieved in downtown Greenville and along the river.
Over the lifespan of this project, it'll be over $1 billion to the District of Columbia. Yards Park was the first piece of this Yards puzzle that was delivered in 2010. It helped to create place. It helped to open up the front yard of the Anacostia River. It kind of put us on the map. And then every building that's delivered from there, the amenity that we lease to is the park. So Foundry Lofts, 170 units, we leased it up in less than 6 months. And the only thing else that was here was the park. And that was the fastest lease up in Forest City history. So yes, I think the park had a little to do with that, if not everything to do with that.
Since the Riverfront Park project was announced, almost $1 billion in private investment has occurred within a quarter mile of the park.
Several of those developers are saying quite clearly, we wanted to develop that parcel because of its relationship to the park. We want to build on the investment.
You know, we're currently in design, but trying to create a mix of retail that's going to feel very integrated with the Greenway, and we think that's going to be really important to the vitality of the retail and also the interest level of our office and residential occupants.
It's an amenity that people expect in a vibrant, thriving urban environment.
We already have about a 21-to-1 return on investment, and it's 4 years in. Do parks make a difference? I think so.
From both the economic point of view, but then all the other social, physical, and environmental benefits, parks and public spaces make sense. And to me, I can't imagine a great city that does not have a great park and public space system.
Cities are really the economic engines of the country. So what happens in cities is extraordinarily important to what happens with the country. And I think that importance is growing.
There is no better investment than a city can make than in its public infrastructure. It's not just the buildings that count, but it's those bits between the building where people meet and come together.
When we see the cities that have made those long-term investments in urban park and recreation systems, those cities seem to be thriving. And the reason why is they've put that basic infrastructure in place.
What we can do is replicate that kind of investment in every neighborhood, and you'll see improvements. Not only are they actual improvements because people feel safer and they want to be there, there's an issue of equity. It makes the neighborhoods feel better about themselves and therefore willing to do great things and to move out of poverty.
We often ask the question, what would you have done different in your community? And one of the uniform responses is, we wish 30 years ago we had preserved more green space and created more park space. That's always number one on the list.